What is up, ladies and gentlemen? So, UFC 309 is in the books. Wanted to have a quick conversation about it. I'm mainly just going to discuss the co main event and the main event. The co main event, Charles Do Bronx Oliveira, in true Charles Do Bronx fashion, dominated the whole fight from beginning to end. And then, of course, giving us all something to go, oh shit, about in the fifth round when he gets clipped by Michael Chandler, hurt, put on skates, falls on his back. Chandler gets on top of him, lands about 10 shots to the back of the head. I have no clue what Keith Peterson was thinking about in that moment. I guess he was thinking about what he ate for dinner because he was just sitting there watching it happen. I mean, we're talking boom, 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 just over and over. My son and I are sitting there watching it going, are these legal? I don't think these are legal. We've been watching the UFC quite a long time. Back of the head shots are not legal. Either way, Keith Peterson didn't say anything about it. Charles was able to survive the onslaught. Aside from about a minute and 30 seconds of the fifth round, Charles Oliveira completely dominated Michael Chandler. Teeps to the body the whole time, landing knees up the middle, one twos, left hooks, kept the jab in his face the whole time. I mean, really, Michael Chandler had a couple of isolated instances where he'd land an overhand right or something like that, but wasn't anything like the first fight. But this one was a full on 5 round clinic by Charles Oliveira. The straight punches, the technical nature of Charles Oliveira's game was very, very evident. Well above what Michael Chandler's is. You could just tell who the more technical fighter was in this fight, and it showed. The main event and the main one that I wanted to talk about, Jon Jones, the consensus by most accounts, the GOAT, the greatest of all time, the best pound for pound UFC fighter possibly ever in existence, basically undefeated. He has one L on his record, and that L was a disqualification in a fight that he was absolutely purely dominating every second of the fight, and he inadvertently landed some 12 to 6 elbow that the ref didn't even give him a warning. He just stopped the fight, disqualified Jon Jones, and it went on as a loss against his record. But he was winning every second of that fight. It's a bullshit loss. Basically, he's undefeated. So he comes back tonight against Stipe Miocic, who is arguably one of the best heavyweights ever to do it in the UFC. Jon Jones, this is only his second fight as a heavyweight. Obviously, he's a UFC veteran, but he fought at light heavyweight most of his career. This is only his second fight at heavyweight. Um, his last fight was against Cyril Gane, where he first won the belt. He defended that belt tonight against Stipe Miocic. Stipe Miocic is a 42-year-old man at this point. He's been out of the game for about 3 years, so it's a little bit hard to tell. I'm sure that the narrative will be written tomorrow. Oh, well, Stipe's washed up. He's getting old. He's 42 years old. His age was showing. Not even remembering that it was only a couple of years back, Glover Teixeira, at 42 years old, won the belt. Daniel Cormier was a champion up around 40, 41, 42 years old as well. It happens in these upper weight classes, these heavier weight classes like this. These guys can be champions a little longer. They can fight a little longer. The speed, the speed and I guess you could say the reflexes are not quite as big of a deal when you get up in these heavier weight classes like the light heavyweight and the heavyweights. Look at Randy Couture back in the day. I mean, I know I'm taking you back down memory lane a little bit, but I mean, this guy was 45, 46, 47 years old in there as a champion. So, you know, I know that the narrative's going to be written, oh, Stipe's washed up. That's why Jones dominated him the way he did. And he did. Dominated from pillar to post, bell to bell, was eating up his body with front teep kicks the whole fight. Finally got his jab working as well. And Stipe's known to be the boxer. Jon Jones is not known to be that great with his boxing itself. I mean, he's got elbows, but I mean, from the beginning, very first round, Jones got Stipe down, dominated. It was a 10-8 round, that very first round. Stayed on top of him, landed numerous elbows, one of which eventually cut Stipe open at the end of the very first round. After that, just again, teeps to the body. Every once in a while, he went high with it. And he got the jab working. Feinted quite a lot to kind of get Stipe, dropping his level, thinking that maybe Jones was going to come in and shoot, just keeping him guessing the whole time. But the real story to this fight was Jones working the body of Stipe Miocic. And you could look and you could notice visible redness and swelling around the midsection of Stipe Miocic, where he was just getting kicked and teeped over and over and over and over throughout that fight. Jon Jones was much faster. I mean, a lot of people are gonna say, oh, Stipe, the narrative. I'm sure tomorrow, Stipe's too old, he's washed up, this and that. You know, 3 years ago he was a world beater. 3 years ago he was in there with Francis Ngannou in a competitive fight and was winning that fight until he came in with his chin up in the air and got clipped and put down. So I wouldn't say that that narrative is accurate. I think that that's people. There's going to be some Jon Jones haters out there. Jon Jones is one of those polarizing figures, the kind of guy that gets DUIs, snorts cocaine, hits pregnant ladies with his car, leaves the scene of the accident, beats his wife in a hotel, leaves, gets in trouble, and then has the nerve to stand up there and praise God and say it's all due to Jesus Christ that he's in the situation that he's in. Listen, I'm nobody's judge. I'm nobody's judge. And I'm a perfect example of a person that you don't have to be perfect to be blessed by God. We have a good God that blesses even bad people. Sometimes we don't understand that. And I'm not saying he's a bad person. God knows the contents of people's heart. I guess a better way to put that is we have a gracious God who will bless people who don't necessarily even deserve it. And I know looking from the outside in, that's what people see in Jon Jones a lot. He's lived a life of, getting in trouble. There's been some domestic violence claims on the behalf of his wife. He's had a DUI. He did leave the scene of an accident years back. He's admitted to doing drugs, having issues with drinking and cocaine and things like that. And but he's also the kind of guy that obviously has strong faith, and then he equates his success and his victory directly to his relationship with God, and it seems a little off when you know what his past is and what his history is, but that's not for us to decide. That's between him and that's between the man upstairs. That's between him and God. So who am I to judge? And I don't. But point being, he was faster, younger too, yes. But I just think what we saw here tonight is Jon Jones just being one of the greatest. He's called the greatest of all time for a reason. He's called the pound for pound greatest for a reason. And he just has such a varied attack that Stipe was just not able to get any sort of beat on him. Stipe was getting hit from different angles. He would kick him in the leg, and then next thing you know, he was kicking him. He was teep kicking him, kick him in the belly a couple of times, getting him thinking about the midsection. Then he'd go high and kick him up high. Then he got the jab working. Then he would get him up against the fence, start landing elbows. He had a couple of good spinning attacks, spinning back kicks. Ended up finishing him with a spinning back kick. Heel hit him right here. Boom. And Stipe just crumbled. Just, you know, and I've taken kickboxing and I've been kicked in the liver before. That actually wasn't in the liver, but I know from having been kicked in the liver, you can't fake that. When you get kicked good in the breadbasket, in the gut, in the liver, anywhere, and it's a good shot, it doesn't matter how much you try to fake it. It doesn't matter what kind of poker face you think you're going to have. As soon as it happens, your body goes into autopilot mode and it just goes. And that's exactly what Stipe did. He crumbled. That was it. It was over. Literally, Jones landed maybe one follow up shot, and Herb Dean was already there to stop it. So, one good thing about all of this, and one good thing I liked about this, was that at the end of it, according to Jon Jones, he's spoken with Dana, he's spoken with Hunter, and it sounds like he may not be retiring, which, you know what that means. If Jon Jones does not retire, there's another guy out there who has an interim heavyweight belt. His name is Tom Aspinall, and he is a beast. He is a young lion, a young hungry lion, a young talented, very talented, hungry lion. And I'm thinking that it's not going to be long at all before we're going to start hearing that the UFC is trying to put that fight together. Unless Jon Jones was just BSing us and he actually is planning to retire. He's only 37 years old. I mean, that's not young by any means as far as MMA fighter standards, but it's not extremely old either. And again, in the heavyweight division, especially in this particular heavyweight division, the talent pool is, when you get in these upper weight classes like this, the talent pool is not nearly as thick. It's not nearly as deep as it is when you get down into like the featherweight. I'm sorry, the featherweight, the lightweights, even the welterweights. When you get in those lower weight classes, the talent pool just becomes much, much, much deeper. You got more people with more skill, more talent. In this heavyweight division, there's just not a whole lot of them. Not a whole lot of real talented guys up in there. So it's a perfect place for a guy like Jon Jones to shine in the heavyweight division. He's so much more diverse in his attacks. He has so many more tools and weapons in his arsenal than so many other heavyweights do. So I think he'll do well there. The only person I really think that could potentially beat him is a guy who reminds me a lot of him in his skill level, and that would be Tom Aspinall. That's what everybody really wanted. Tom Aspinall's already been calling out Jon Jones, but Jon Jones, before he did anything else, he just had to get this Stipe fight out of the way because, it's been said, it's the writing on the wall that Stipe is the greatest heavyweight UFC fighter ever. Jon Jones, if he was going to move up to the heavyweight division, he wanted to squash that narrative. He wanted to be the one to put that to bed and to beat Stipe. He's done that. Now you got a couple of options there. You got Tom Aspinall and you have Alex Pereira, who's currently fighting at light heavyweight, holding the belt there, but he is a 6'4" beast who walks around at 240 pounds. He could easily fight at heavyweight, and I know he's talked about going up to heavyweight. So you got a potential of Jon Jones, a Tom Aspinall, or possibly an Alex Pereira fight coming down the pipeline. I would be excited for either. But anyway, that's about it, guys. That's about it. I just want to give a quick update on how that fight turned out. Jon Jones remains the GOAT. He remains the pound for pound greatest. He remains the youngest UFC champion ever. I think there's no doubt in anybody's mind at this point that he is the greatest, if not the, he is one of the greatest to ever do it in MMA. Good fight. Ended it in devastating fashion. Nasty spinning back kick to the gut. Put Stipe down. Fight was over. I think it was the fourth round, I believe. Might have even been the end of the third. I don't even remember, to be honest with you. It's late, guys, but it was a great fight. It was a great fight. Jon Jones is still the man, maintaining that legendary status. So anyway, leave a comment down below. Let me know what you thought of the fight. Subscribe to this channel if you would. Also share the content. Like the video. Love you guys very much. I hope you have a great night. I'll see you next time. Peace.